Kate Zeitvogel. I am the Director of Customer Success here at Cadre, which basically means that I know how to use both sides, both the client side and the freelancer side, the side you all are most familiar with. And I'm here to make sure that it makes sense to you and it makes sense to our clients so that both of you can get the work done. So I am excited to be joined today by a few other members of our Cadre team. And today what we're going to be taking a look at is how Cadre works. And I know that we have addressed this previously, but we're going to give a slightly different twist on it today. Before I dive in, though, I do want to introduce the Cadre team members that are here with me. We have Michael Shaman, who is our Director of Business Development, joining us. We have Kim Korhonen, who is our General Manager and one of our staffing managers here as well. Ashley Hernreiter is also another one of our senior staffing managers. Sorry, Ashley, I've completely butchered your title, but Ashley Hernreiter,
whoever.
Last name, right?
I'll be whoever.
The last name I can pronounce. It's the title I seem to butcher, but I'm also joined by Bianna Spence, one of our customer success associates, and Lana Was, one of our other customer success associates. Other team members are in the background, answering questions, making sure that any of those little glitches that we see come through get addressed as quickly as possible. I do encourage everyone to not shout out. Let's be polite about it, right? But go ahead and add your questions, raise your hand, get your questions out there while we are here. We're going to keep this, like I said, to a tight 30 minutes so that you all can get on with the rest of your day. We know everyone, it's a little quieter right now, but we all have very busy days. So Bianna, without further ado, if you would share your screen, I would love to walk everyone through the basic process of how Cadre works. Perfect. Wonderful. So we've got this wonderful graphic that we've recently created here. Hopefully you all can see it now, but I'm going to walk through how Cadre works with everyone using this timeline, and we'll share this with all of you after the fact as well, so you can reference it later on. But as you can see, to get everyone started, everyone has to create a profile. You, the freelancer, need to create a profile, as you know, but our clients need to create a profile as well. It's less in depth, but they do need to create and verify that their email address is accurate and all of those details. Then they need to post a project. And when clients go and post a project, they have a whole host of options to select from when they do that. They can choose whether they're looking for on-site event freelancers, whether they're looking for event planning freelancers who can either show up on site to execute it later on, work remotely and help get things done that way, or they can select from audiovisual freelancers. So we've got three ranges that people choose from. As they keep building and posting their project, as you've seen, I'm sure they have an opportunity to add the number of positions they need, the type of people that they're looking for, add in event notes and any of those custom policies. But one of the things that you probably don't know is clients also have the opportunity to select who gets to see their project. So they can choose whether they want to broadcast it out to everyone in Cadre, post it as public, so that all really all Cadre freelancers can see the posting in there. But I would say probably about 90% of all postings that happen in Cadre are private, meaning that the only people who get to see those details are those who get invited. So it's important to have a complete profile so that clients can find you even when they post their project as private. So once they post their project, they get to then browse and invite people as they see fit. And especially if they have posted it as private, it's really important to have your profile listed as active and complete, because if they can't find you in there, they're not going to be able to invite you in there. So do yourself a credit, make sure your profile is up to date and is active. If you have any questions about how to do that, feel free to reach out to our fantastic support team. We've got a growing team over there, Sophia and Bailey and a few others over there helping out. Reach out to them at support@hirecadre.com. Awesome. Thank you, Lana, for adding that in there. So once they have browsed, once the clients have browsed, viewed, posted their project, regardless of whether if you've been invited, you can see the details, or if it's posted as public, you can go in, view those details, and make your offer. And I'm sure many of you have perused several of the postings in there and have made offers. So you're quite familiar with what that process looks like. It does look a little different whether you're making an offer on an on-site project versus an event planning project versus an AV project. Each one has its own little quirks to them, their own particularities, but they all have the same basic premise where it shows you the event details, the date, basically where it's located, the scope of work, and any of those other details that the client has added for you in there. And you can add your informed offer over to the client. Once you and others have sent their offers over, clients get the opportunity to review them. As they're reviewing them, they can send out an interview request, because even though you've completed your profile and it looks wonderful, it's still just a two-dimensional profile, right? So they want to be able to make sure that you, your personality, and that your skill set will actually mesh well. So they can set up interviews in here, and I'm sure several of you have experienced that already. We've integrated Zoom into Cadre, and I know that we've heard from some clients recently that there are some quirks with that at the moment. So we're working on smoothing that out, making sure it's a nice, smooth ride, but get that 30-minute interview scheduled via Zoom, all in Cadre. And let's say they love you. You're the one, they want to contract you, and they do. So they get you contracted. And the second that they say you're contracted, you are. As you can see, step 7 happens pretty much all at the same time. Once that happens, that's when it opens up messaging in there. We can add, for clients, there are various reports that they can download and view and reference at any time. They can add your itinerary if they are flying you in anywhere. So all of those details open up the moment that you are contracted, that one-on-one communication, so that those details don't get missed. Now, let's see. Once you're contracted, once the contract starts, go on site. If any expenses are incurred and are being reimbursed by your client, you can start adding those to your profile, add them to your expense report for your particular contract. Once your whole contract is done, you've got 7 days to finalize your expense report and send it over to your client. Once they've received it, your client has 14 days to review and either dispute or approve any of your expenses in there. And once they've approved all of those expenses, that's when they are then queuing you up and giving us, Cadre, and our accounting team the A-OK to get you lined up and queued up for disbursement, for payment. And again, depending on whether you are contracted for on-site event work, audiovisual freelancer work, or the event planning work, will determine when you get paid, as well as when those expense reports are done. So that is real fast, a quick run through of the timeline of how things work within Cadre. Do we have any questions I can help answer for anybody before we dive into some of the searching and finding?
Kate, there's one question. It says, have made an offer but never received a response, but the program remains in new after the start date. Can you explain how this happens?
That's a really great question. We have several, especially for those longer term event planning projects. We have several clients who will post it in there, and as they're doing some interviews, or I know that several of them will post it and then they have to wait for their client to respond back to them before they can make any further decisions. They do have the opportunity, once they have more information, to update the start date, update the scope in there, and make those changes. But until they get that go ahead, they probably are just leaving it in there until they have more information. So it's very likely that there is a project still active. Start date was maybe August 1st, for example, and the client is simply waiting until their higher up gives them the A-OK, or if any of those other details come through for them. So I hope that helps answer that question. It is a little funky, but usually once they get additional details, they make those updates.
Another question, can clients provide feedback at any time?
That's a great question. Yes, as soon as you are contracted, your client can leave feedback on you. Most tend to wait until after the project is all done. But once that project is all set, they have the opportunity to leave kind of like Amazon or Airbnb, a 5-star review, and then they can add a little blurb in there as to what made you so fantastic. You can see it posted in your profile once it is in there. Once you log in, underneath in the left corner, underneath your picture, there should be some stars. And once you click on that, little slide out should show up and you should be all set to view any feedback in there.
Next question, is there no way to let us know, is there anyone who can reach out is there anyone we can reach out to when we ask the client a question and no one responds?
Sure. Especially in that Q&A section, if no one responds, we know sometimes clients are just not logging in until they have those details from their client. In that situation, feel free to reach out to our support team, support@hirecadre.com. Again, they are a great resource for figuring out where those missing pieces might be. Our support team can reach out to the client, see what their status is, see if they need any additional assistance. Maybe they're trying to figure out the next step, but reach out to our support team. We're happy to make those connections for all of you.
All right, there is another question here. Is there no way to let us know Cadre is simply waiting for a response from the client and then let us know there is a new date? I'm not quite clear on that.
Sure. So I know that some clients will go in and in that Q&A section will put in there that they are waiting for information or they're waiting for their client. Not everyone does that. And again, we're working with our clients to educate them on all of the nuances of the platform. In the meantime, though, if there is no answer in that Q&A section, if the date has come and passed, again, feel free to reach out to our support team. They can reach out. Sometimes they've got a little extra contacts that they can make so that they can find out what that status is. Now, when they do go and make an update to the start date, for example, if you have made an offer and they change the start date, you will automatically receive a notification from Cadre informing you of this update. It'll ask you to log in, review, make sure that those details still work for you, but you should receive a notification of any of those changes. Wonderful. What other questions do we have, Lana?
There's nothing in the queue right now, so.
Nothing now? All right, cool. Once we are all done here, I will be sure to send this timeline over to everyone in addition to this recording. But in the meantime, Bianna, if we could pop over
Could I
to...
just interrupt, Kate? I'm sorry. One more question just came in. How do we know what expenses are being covered by the clients, such as travel, hotel, et cetera, versus the cost paid by us? If there is an evening event in New York City, if we determine that we should stay over that evening due to the ending time of the event, how would we know if that would be paid by the client?
Sure, that's a great question. So every client has the opportunity to post or to select our standard expense policy or to upload their own. They also have the opportunity to add any of their own custom policies. And you'll be able to see that in a couple different locations. One, when you go and make your offer, you've got the dates, you've got the rate, you've got your place to put your pitch, select how you're going to get to the project, assuming it's an on-site project. And then down at the bottom, down at the bottom, there are all those check boxes for you to check off. One's a terms and conditions. That's the contract between you and me being Cadre. One of them is going to be an expense policy. And if you click on it, you'll be able to see what will be expensed and what cannot. And then if the client adds any of their own additional custom policies, I know some have NDAs, code of conducts, et cetera, all of that will be included in there as well. Now, let's say you've made your offer and it's been a little while and you just got contracted and you have no idea what that expense policy looks like. You don't even remember if there were custom policies. No problem. Once you're contracted, in your contract, one of those tabs is called compliance. And in there, you can view the expense policy and any of those other custom policies that were added, if any, to that contract. So you should be able to reference it at any time. It's a really great question. Awesome. All right, Biana, if you would pop over to the client side, we can point out, perfect, some of these questions that people have. So Biana, if you would you make your screen just a teensy bit bigger, please? My eyes aren't that old, but they're old enough, you know? Awesome. Thank you, my dear. All right. So this is once a client has posted their project, this, for example, this F2F HCP meeting, this is what they get to see. So that once it's posted, they get to see all active freelancers within Cadre. So if you recall, I mentioned a little earlier, it's really important for you to have an active profile in here. If it's incomplete, clients cannot find you. From here, if they happen to know exactly who they're looking for and they want to invite someone, they can search, search for yourself. Perfect. Find Biana in there and she'll pop up and she can send an invite over to her. There we go. Perfect. So we can find you right away. But let's say we don't know who we want. The client is looking to build their team a little bit. This is where we have all of those filters and sort bys and show and all those different details in there. Perfect. So as we go in here, skills is one of the top things that people are searching for. And one of the top skill sets that people search for, if you want to go way down beyond it, is Spot Me. I know that many of you have seen those emails asking, do you have this skill set? It's been very popular recently. So if you do, this is how clients are searching for you, for those people who know Spot Me specifically in here. They go right in here, like you just saw, find that skill set, click on it, click and apply. Now, let's say they're looking for local people. We've got that sort by as well, so we can keep it with the Spot Me. Let's do, instead of, perfect. Under that, let's do the sort by. Yeah, and we'll do distance to event. Excellent. So in just a moment, once it filters through, it'll be showing all of those details. And this is why, again, it's so important to have those skill sets updated, to make sure that if you do move around throughout the year, that your location is up to date in here, and that any of those additional details are up to date, because people are constantly searching and sorting and looking in here for you with these filters. In this area as well, if you wanted to go all the way to the end, Biana, and click on that compliance. Sorry, I should have been a little clearer. Yep, there you go. This is that area to answer your previous question about where do I find that expense policy? How do I know what is actually expensed or expensable and reimbursable? In that compliance tab, right on that end there, as you can see, we've got all of these key areas, and it's the same for your side. Again, this is the client side, but on the freelancer side, you have that same compliance tab. You have that same expense policy tab, that same custom policies tab, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's in there at any point in time. You can reference any of those additional policies. Now, if there aren't any additional custom policies, that custom policies tab will still be there, but it'll say none have been added for this project. So you still have all of those tabs available to you at any point in time. Wonderful. This is looking great. I thought I saw a question pop in. Am I wrong about that, Lana?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. So here's one. Will you ever allow us to put feedback on passing on a project? For example, there is a current project with a name and location only.
Yes, it is something that we are looking into. And I know that especially for people who've been invited to a project and have to pass because they're unavailable or are out of town, they really would like that opportunity to leave a note as to why they are passing on the project, because they don't want to be counted out next time. we are looking into doing that. It's a little ways down the road, but it is on our to-do list. It's a great idea for sure.
Okay, now here's a question to Ashley, and Kim. When
Okay.
you add Merritt's job to your profile experience, who do you put for the contract email? Who it sends a review request, Kim and Ashley, or the lead that you worked with on the event with Merritt's? Is it still the case that their reviews don't post to Cadre?
It's a little trickier, I think, with the Merits ones. Kim, if you want to say, we do get feedback, program by program, but it doesn't always come right after. Merits kind of sends it in groups, not quarterly per se, but it's not always right after the program. And Kim and I are working on figuring out how to put that feedback into each program. It's just a little more complicated.
We have talked about it before. There's no, it's not set up yet for Merits for just the way everything's set up to do direct feedback. So hopefully we'll get that figured out one day, but still have not. So
for the time being, I would put either Kim or Ashley's email in there under that past work experience. Use their email. They'll be the ones to be able to direct it to that right person. And we do, once that feedback is in there, once Ashley, Kim, or any of our other people in here are adding that feedback, it should show up right away for you. There should be no delay whatsoever for you in there, aside from once we get it from them. What other questions do we have out there?
What does your pipeline look like now that fall is approaching? I think we are all anxious to get our calendars filled.
That's a great question. I know that Kim and I were talking just before we hopped on this call, and September is looking busy. It's looking busy for on-site. It's looking busy for AV, which is a brand new sector that we have recently added. So if you have that AV experience, that's getting really busy. And even for the event planning, that's looking pretty busy as well. September and October, we're seeing a lot of projects getting posted for those 2 months. November, December, it's a little bit quieter, which is pretty normal for us. But I would say from what I've seen so far, September and October are going to be pretty busy. Kim, is that what you're seeing as well?
yeah, it's the normal business cycle where it starts to slow down, and then I don't know what January or February is going to look like, but one month is busier, the other one's not, and then it will get busier until like August or September, and then it slows down again. So it's just the normal cycle that we're seeing.
Great. Wonderful.
Okay, next question. Would it be fair to say that we are reimbursed within 3 weeks of the event earning on average?
On average, yes, I would say.
Depends on when your expense report is.
Exactly. I would say the longest anyone has ever had to wait is a solid month. And the reason for that is because of just because of the cutoffs on certain things. So keep in mind that you get paid for your on-site work once your expense report is approved. Once it's approved, it gets queued up to be paid out twice a month. So either the 15th or the 30th. So that's why sometimes it's a month. I would say more often than not, 2 weeks is usually what we've seen.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right, Ash?
Yeah, as long as those invoice reports are in, I think that's the part that gets everyone. It's not when the program ends, it's when the invoices are approved. So I think that's just the catch.
Yeah, if you submit your information wrong, it doesn't say you submitted it on the 1st, but your information was not correct and you have to resubmit.
Yeah.
The submit date now is not the 1st. It's from when you submitted it correctly. So that also can delay. So just make sure before you hit the submit button that everything is uploaded, that what needs to be uploaded, and attachments and all that stuff. So you don't have to deal with being pushed down the road.
Those are really great points. And for the most part, it's pretty straightforward adding your expenses into Cadre. But if you do have any of those funky ones, especially if you've been traveling overseas and need to figure out how to do a currency conversion, again, reach out to our support team. They're really great at answering questions like that. I think we've got time for a couple more questions before we're going to call it quits on the day. Go ahead, Lana.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm getting more questions here and they're popping up. Hello, and thank you for hosting this call. This is from Mary D, who's new to the Cadre. Besides having an active profile, are there any other ways to gain exposure to potential clients?
Great question. So there are a couple different ways to go about doing that. If you have worked with people previously and you have their contact information, go ahead and reach out to them, letting them know that you are active here in Cadre. The best way to do that is going to be from your profile. In the left column, there's a promote yourself area. Right in there, you can add them in there. Another way to do it in your work experience. If you haven't added your previous work experience, the work that you've done outside of Cadre before joining, in there, that is a great place when people view your profile. Bianna, would you click on Lana's photo real fast so that people can see what the client sees? Excellent. So all of that work that you put into creating and updating your profile, this is why it's so important. And if you keep going down, I think we've got some of those beautiful, some of that work history in there. So in there, as you're adding that work history, not only does it look great in your profile, but as you're adding that, you can add the contact information for who your point of contact was, who your supervisor was, whomever it happens to be. And in there, it'll ask them to send you a review on your performance so that we can capture your feedback in here so that other clients can see that. But it's also going to invite them to Cadre so that they can do their contracting here in Cadre, and it'll automatically get you linked up to them when they do sign up. So a couple of different ways of going about it. You can also share your public profile out on your social platform, letting everyone know, again, that you are here in Cadre, ready for work.
Okay, another question. I have not gotten an invite or email letting me know of a job that has been posted for over 8 months. And now my profile is active. What should I do? I've been with ETD and Cadre for about 28 years.
Interesting. Well, I know that we've got some publicly posted projects in there. So I would just make sure that under your skills and expertise that you have, if you are an on-site freelancer, make sure that you have that selected. If you are an event planning freelancer, make sure you have that selected and all of the skill sets in there. And if you're an AV freelancer, again, make sure that you have that selected. And if you are 2 or 3 of those things, make sure they're all in there. The only other thing I can think of would be that most of those projects are probably posted as private, but I'm pretty positive that we've got public projects in there. So make sure your notifications are updated to whatever you would like them to be. Again, that'll be in your left corner. But between notifications and making sure that your expertise is up to date, you should be all set in there.
All right. Does Cadre support clients looking for support in the EU?
Yes, absolutely. EU, South America, Canada, Mexico, anywhere and everywhere. So if you know of a client who is looking to contract people either to send them to the EU or looking for local to EU people, let us know. We are happy to help them get situated. But yes, Cadre is flexible so that regardless of where you're located, where the event is located, and where the client is located, it can be taken care of here in Cadre.
All right. What can I be doing with my profile as a new freelancer to be included in the private viewing planning projects and on-site TD jobs? How can we enhance the client's ability to view us?
That's a great question. We are looking at a couple of different premium options to help boost you. But in the meantime, 1, make sure that you're active. 2, make sure that your skill set is up to date, because as we showed you a little earlier, clients are searching for specific skill sets. So make sure that you get granular. Don't just say, I know Cvent, say, I know Cvent Flex Web Build, say, I know SpotMe, say, I know Bizzabo. Get granular, get detailed. The more detailed you can be, the easier it's going to be to find you in there. Also, be succinct and detailed in your bio. That makes such a difference to so many clients, especially when they're just browsing in there. Taking a look at the about you aspect is something that grabs people's eyes. So make sure that you have correct punctuation, correct spelling. Feel free to use abbreviations because there is a bit of a crunch in there. So feel free to use common abbreviations. So YRS for years, that's totally fine. And again, be specific. So saying I started a couple years ago doesn't really tell me anything. Saying I started in 2010 working at this program for these people gives me a much better idea of where I started, how I started, and how long ago it was, giving me an idea of where I am in that in the industry. So be specific, make sure it's up to date. And especially those skills, those little blue bubbles that you see in that slide out there in the profile. Those are all those skills. Those are all searchable features. So again, get as granular as you can.
All right, two more questions. Could you share how many people are registered or looking for work with Cadre?
It fluctuates every single day. We've got a growing number of clients and a constantly growing number of freelancers from all over the world. Clients are all over the world. Freelancers are all over the world. I've not looked recently at what those numbers look like, but constantly growing. And we're constantly looking for new people too, because we always have new clients coming on board looking for new aspects. So I don't have an exact number for you right now. I apologize.
All right.
One more question and then we'll wrap it all up.
Yeah, one more is this one is many times the posted jobs have no details regarding the events, but it says see details. How do we get those details? Do we have to contact support or do we and I know what we should be saying or who they should be contacting, but go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're saying see details, just make sure, double check, see if there's a scope of work that's been uploaded. More often than not in that see details, there's usually a PDF that's been uploaded with a complete scope of work in there. If that's not in there, go to that questions, that Q&A section, ask for some more details. Go into each position. A lot of times, if you just hover over the skills and specialties, the details are in there. You just need to hover over it. But if no one's getting back to you on your questions in the platform here, again, reach out to support. We can try pinging and poking the client to get some more details. And again, we've been working really closely with all of our new clients, even some of our older clients, making sure that those details get added in there. But we know that not everyone does it. So we're working on making sure that it's as up to date and with as much information for you as possible. Thank you, everybody, so much. We've actually run a little overtime today, which is just fine. Thank you again for all of your time. I want to thank the Cadre team that joined us here today. And please be sure to keep your eye out for upcoming town halls. If you have ideas for town halls, we're happy to hear it. Feel free to reach out to support@hirecadre.com with any questions that we can help answer about the platform. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and thank you again for joining us. Bye, everybody.
Bye.